One of the biggest changes coming in the Warmind expansion is the complete overhaul of exotic weapons. So many are getting massive buffs. And the best part is that this is available to all players, not just those who own the DLC. And so today, with the release of the expansion and the release of the patch notes, we're going to pour over all of the exotic buffs information and detail every single change so that you guys know which weapons to utilize. And so, let's get started. What is up, guys? Rekkakus here, and today, yes, we're going over every single exotic buff that has come with Warmind. Now, Bungie has been teasing these buffs for quite a while, writing about them and also showcasing short videos of these buffed weapons. We're going to showcase the videos whenever it's applicable, but some of the weapons on this list were never shown. So let's just jump into it with the Sweet Business Exotic Auto Rifle. It's getting two changes. Firstly, Bungie increased the ammo gained when players pick up kinetic ammo. So when you get an ammo brick with this weapon, you're going to get more than usual. Also, they increased the ammo inventory, which is what you're seeing in the background. Now you're going to have up to 999 spare rounds with the Sweet Business. You're going to get to shoot and keep shooting. Moving on from there, we have the Vigilant Swing Exotic Pulse Rifle. Already terrorizing the Crucible, it's actually getting a little bit of a buff, in the sense that recovery is now going to be set to maximum while the Last Stand perk is active. Now, Last Stand on this weapon makes it so that it improves the weapon performance when its wielder is the last living member of a fire team. So not going to come up too much outside of the competitive playlist, but now you're going to have faster health regen as well when this is active. Next up, the Jade Rabbit Exotic Scout Rifle. It's getting a plus 20 boost to stability. Not as flashy, but certainly a powerful increase. Gonna make it a lot more easy to land shots with this weapon. Now moving on from there, we have the Rat King Exotic Sidearm. It's getting several changes. So firstly, they enhanced the total stat benefits of running with a pack. So benefits are front loaded. There are now larger damage benefits when two people equip the exotic, with slight damage increases for each additional player. So you're going to get the biggest buff, of course, if all 6 players are using it, but if only one other person is or 2 other people are, you're going to get a more front loaded bonus. You're going to get a bigger damage increase than you otherwise did. In addition to that, the Rat Pack perk can now activate and stack while Rat King is stowed. Absolutely huge, so you don't always have to have this weapon out. You can have some people using it, some people using sniper rifles, whatever, but those people using it will get the benefit as if everyone was using it. In addition to that, they added HUD notification text for when the Rat Pack perk is active. Great, just letting you know. Also, they increased the ammo inventory with this weapon, and lastly, they added full auto. This full auto change is frankly huge. I think this is one of the biggest changes, going to increase its usability so much more, and in PvP, it's going to make it quite a bit more deadly than it was. Now, moving on from there, we have the Crimson Exotic Hand Cannon. So, it's getting 2 changes. Number 1, they refined the damage, rate of fire, and recovery time between bursts. So likely it's going to be a lot more snappy, easy to use, and potentially deadly. And secondly, they increased the ammo inventory. That's a common theme you're going to see here, this ammo inventory increasing. I think that's good. It just lets you utilize your exotic weapon a lot more without having to switch to another weapon that you don't even want to use. Now moving on from there, the Sturm Drang. This, of course, is one of the wombo combo weapons, with the Sturm being the hand cannon and the Drang being the sidearm. Using both of these weapons gets you some huge benefits. So, for the Sturm, firstly, they increased the base stability stat. And also, overcharged rounds from the Drang now deal 80% bonus damage. In addition to that, they added HUD status notification and visual feedback for when the magazine is overcharged. Now for the Drang, Firstly, kills with the Drang reload Sturm and add 1 overcharged round even if the Sturm's mag is not full. Also, they increase the magazine size. And lastly, they added the Rampage perk to this weapon. The perk where getting a kill will increase the damage stacks up to 3 times. So, this is now a very potent combo, and the gameplay in the background showcases that you can indeed get crispy 2 headshot kills in PvP with the Sturm if you overcharge a round with the Drang, which involves just getting a kill, which is easier because it's better and has the Rampage perk now. So definitely watch out for this combo. Moving on from there, in the energy weapons category, we have firstly the Hardlight Exotic Auto Rifle. So it has 2 changes. Number 1, it can now be manually reloaded to change the damage type. So just like how the Borealis sniper rifle is operated, you can on the fly change its elements, which is what you're seeing in the background. Now of course in PvE, incredibly effective. The second change is that hits after its rounds bounce on a surface now deal double damage. So if you're shooting the ground and angling it up at an opponent, that opponent is going to be hit for double damage. That is not a negligible amount. That's insane, actually. So, moving on from there, however, we have the Graviton Lance Exotic Pulse Rifle. So, this is one of the weapons that has been dramatically overhauled. We got a lot of changes. Firstly, it now fires in 2-round bursts. Bungie has said that this is actually going to give it a more competitive than normal time to kill, so watch out for it. Next, they increased the stability. After that, they reduced recoil on its final round in a burst, so just easier to handle. After that, Void Bloom Explosion deals more damage. After that, the Void Bloom Explosion now spawns secondary void projectiles that will seek nearby opponents. After that, enemies eliminated float up and back, detonating closer to their death location. And lastly, they improved the aim assist. So Graviton Lance is definitely, again, one of the big winners of this entire patch, so you're definitely going to want to check this one out. Moving on from there, the Skyburner's Oath Exotic Scout Rifle. It's going to get plus 10 to aim assist, not a negligible amount. Then it's going to get a plus 30 increase to handling. After that, it now has the explosive payload perk. And lastly, Hipfire now lobs slower moving projectiles with tracking. So essentially, the Hipfire version of this weapon is going to fire kind of like a mini grenade launcher, and you can see this in the background gameplay. But aiming down sight is still going to give you that hit scan shot, allowing you to deal with enemies at much further ranges. So it's kind of a jack of all trades weapon now. Moving on from there, the Risk Runner Exotic SMG. So, firstly, it now deals more damage while Arc Conductor is active. So not only are you going to get pretty much infinite ammo, you're going to do more damage. Also, they enhanced arc damage resistance to 50% while Arc Conductor is active and Risk Runner is in the player's hands. So if you're getting shot by arc, you only take half damage. Insane. After that, arc damage resistance is now enabled against Guardians in the Crucible, so if there's an arc strider giving you heck, you can definitely put on the Risk Runner. After that, Arc Conductor can now be activated while this weapon is stowed. So you don't get the benefits while it's stowed, but it can be active, and then when you switch to it, the perk is already working. Lastly, they added arc effects to the player while Arc Conductor is active, so you can easily tell, hey, this guy's getting this massive buff, I'm not going to bother engaging him with my arc weapon. Moving on from there, we have the SunShot Exotic Hand Cannon. They increase the damage and the radius of a kill explosion. This was already one of my favorite guns to utilize in PvE, actually quite effective. The fact that these explosions that you get whenever you kill an enemy, like you don't even have to get a headshot, you just kill the enemy, are now a lot more deadly. This is something that it looks minor, but you definitely do want to check out. Moving on from there, the Coldheart Exotic Trace Rifle. So, number one, damage now ramps up faster. After that, they reduced incoming flinch, so it's easier to use, especially in PvP. And lastly, they increased the precision modifier to 1.4 times, was 1.05 times. That's insane. This is a massive buff to the precision damage of the Coldheart. This buff is going to make the Coldheart even more effective against bosses in PvE. It was already one of the top tier weapons you could utilize against Callus. Now it's even better. That is a substantial chunk of increased damage. Can't wait to test this thing out. Moving on from there, we have the other exotic trace rifle with the Prometheus lens. Firstly, they increased the magazine size to 100 rounds. Secondly, it deals more area damage and less beam damage to kind of emphasize its role as a mob wipe-up weapon. And then lastly, the precision damage modifier has been increased to 1.4 times. Again, it was 1.05 times, just like the Coldheart. Again, a massive buff to precision damage. This, of course, however, is going to be offset with the lessened beam damage here, but, you know, we'll have to see how this works out. Moving on from there, the last one in the energy category getting buffed is the Fighting Lion Exotic Grenade Launcher. Firstly, it deals more blast damage and less direct hit damage, so if you shoot near someone, you're going to do more damage than you otherwise would have. Secondly, it has increased ammo inventory, it has increased spawn ammo, and kills with this weapon guarantee energy ammo drops, which is actually pretty darn good. Alright, now moving on from there, we have the exotic power weapons being buffed. The first one is the Tractor Cannon. So, weapon damage with this weapon now suppresses targets, which means that in PvP, if you shoot someone in their super, they instantly go out of their super, which is a pretty big deal. It'll also stagger a lot of enemies in PvE as well. Also, the weapon damage now marks targets to make them more susceptible to void damage. It's a 50% increase, 50% damage increase for 10 seconds. So one shot with the Tractor Cannon is going to make your Nova Bomb or Void Rocket with cluster bombs or whatever deal 50% more damage. That is huge. Now moving on from there, we have the Darcy Exotic Sniper Rifle. So, number one, they reduced the flinch of this weapon. Number two, they reduced the zoom on the scope. Next, they increased precision damage to locked on targets up to 4 times. So I think it's only like one precision shot to lock onto a target, then you're going to be getting 4 times more damage with the rest 6 rounds in a magazine or more. So this is just absurd. Like, this in PvE is going to be, frankly, I think a top tier DPS weapon. But also, lastly, they increased the aim assist. So even in PvP, reduce flinch, reduce zoom, better aim assist, those are big changes in that arena as well. Moving on from there, we have the Borealis Sniper Rifle. So, number one, they reduced the flinch, and number two, after breaking the shield of an enemy, a combatant or a guardian using a super, with the matching elemental damage type, it deals double damage for the remainder of the magazine. And you can see what happens in the background gameplay. Someone is shot out of their super, their solar super with solar damage, and then you can just one bang all the opponents, all the other guardians. Like, so PvP, definitely you can see it has a potential, but PvE as well, that's a pretty powerful ability. Now, moving on from there, the last weapon we're going to go over today is the Prospector Exotic Grenade Launcher. Number one, grenades now stick to surfaces. Wow, like that is a huge, like absolutely massive change. One of the most annoying parts about using a Prospector or any other grenade launcher is that you shoot something and the grenade bounces off and you just don't get anywhere near the damage you should. But the fact that it sticks to surfaces is nuts. And if that isn't nuts enough, the second change is that grenades now cause burn damage over time. What? Like, what? That's absurd. So, the Prospector, for being a grenade launcher, was already actually a pretty great weapon for especially PvE damage output. If you're using the Prospector against a boss, you were not doing anything noticeably wrong. There are better things you could do, but you were still putting pretty decent numbers up. With these changes, this could propel the Prospector into legitimate, like, top tier choices for DPS in PvE. So I'm very excited by that. Guys, again, that is it for all of the changes revealed in the patch notes. Some absolutely massive ones and some stuff that, wow, like, there's a few of these weapons that really stand out to me. Honestly, Prospector, Darcy, Tractor Cannon, Coldheart, and Sweet Business as insane players in PvE now. Expect to see those a lot more in raid setups. And so guys, again, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. Now, if you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.